something they do too is cough over you when you turn the talk?
All the time. All the time. So because I have the mic, I can be heard on the. No. This is just smudging. Okay. So yeah, so I just keep going. Like they're trying to stop me and I just keep talking.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to get started. The Chiefs will be making comments first, and we're going to begin with Chief Sunshine.
Thank you. Thank you for gathering here today on such an important day for everybody, not only First Nations, but everybody all across this land. We've just witnessed what the UCP really think of First Nations. You know, when they minimize First Nations and call this non-confidence vote by the Alberta Chiefs a stunt by the NDP, I take that personally. And every treaty person all across this land, not only in Alberta, but Canada and the US, and all across the world should really take notice of what's happening here today. We're being minimized by a government who has an agenda that wants to be free and sovereign, just like we are. You know, and I want to make it known here today that we will stand up and do everything we can to stand up against this type of government today, tomorrow, and all the days ahead. So I want to thank you again. My name is Sheldon Sunshine, Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation. Thank you. Hey.
Grand Chief McCready.
Good afternoon. My name is Trevor Mercredi, Grand Chief Treaty 8 First Nations of Alberta. Today we're joined today with the Chiefs, Council, people of Treaty 6, 7, and 8 territory to be a part of this historic event. And what happened today was the talk about a vote of non-confidence within the legislature. And we fully support that. Why? Because our rights are being minimized. Our people are being minimized at every level. When we sit and we see what's going on in the legislature, how the UCP are conducting themselves when it comes to our people, when we see firsthand how they work together to minimize our rights, it's very tough to create a relationship like that. It's very tough to move forward in one way or another. The Chiefs are looking for a relationship. We have many issues to deal with here in Alberta. Our people are dying way too early. Our lands are being ravaged. Our people are not being respected. We have this talk about separation here. Separation. Whose idea is it to separate? Who really supports it? How is it that at the forefront of Alberta politics today when we have all these pressing issues? We have a massive deficit with no way out. We have no plan to get out of that other than blame immigrants and other policies that have been in place for many, many years. The NDP have been in power in Alberta for 4 years. It was Conservatives for 50-some years. We're dealing with the issues and fallout from those 50-some years. And we have the answers. We've been talking to the federal government, the provinces, on how we can work together to get these initiatives done and to work respectfully together. Unfortunately, it seems like the UCP government have no interest in working with the nations when it comes to our people and our rights. So we're here to reaffirm our rights as treaty people, making sure that the general public and our people know that we're here to stand up for them. And we thank each and every one of you for your support, the support that's coming from the non-Indigenous people. Thank you for the support. Merci. Thank you.
Chief Kelsey Jacko.
Good day, Chief Kelsey Jacko here from Cold Lake First Nations. Today is apparently Commonwealth Day. and my brothers are in England holding the King to account on treaty, while we are here to hold the Premier to account. No matter what we say, she doesn't seem to hear us. We have been trying to work with her and her MLAs for years now. She keeps saying we have a great relationship, but now how do you have a great relationship with someone who doesn't listen? We have offered her solutions to the issues her laws cause for the treaty relationship, but don't think she has used a single one. The AER and the ACL are broken. When the nations called for an incomplete overhaul last year by a resolution, we were completely ignored. Instead, the Premier signed not one, but 2 MOUs with Canada about major projects that we are supposed to be partners on. We have asked to use the federal impact assessment process for the Pathways project, and the government went behind our backs and negotiated that the provincial process will be used. I look forward to reading that letter. Like, how do you regain the trust, when there's billions of dollars to clean up our lands? We asked for the federal process to be used because the provincial process is broken. We aren't against development, but we want the cumulative impacts to be considered. The land can only take so much. I think most Albertans would stand with the nations when we say industry is important, but we have to build it smart. The people of these lands feel it is in their hearts. I call on all Albertans to learn about treaty, because you are treaty people too. Yes. And come stand with us. We demand better. Masi Cho for your time. And Sam Crowfoot next.
Chief Alan Adam?
Chief Alan, sorry, brother.
We don't keep Chief Allen away.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And, when it comes to the separatist movement, to the separatist people, why are you leaving? We love you. But I'll give you free advice. The border's that way. One of the things you have to understand that this is not a game. This is not a game about pick and choose where you want to go. If you want to go somewhere, you come and tell us if it has something to do with us. Because we are not in favor of the colonial behaviors that treated us and mistreated us for 127 years. Ask yourself a question. You create laws, like Chief Jacko said, to control the natural resources. But you're also creating laws to poison our people back home. And if Danielle Smith gets her way with this separatist government, they will do whatever they want to do. She is no different than Donald Trump, who is the President of the United States. With the lies that come out of his mouth, Danielle Smith sits right beside him. And we have to endure all the rhetoric in regards to what is going on here. She didn't even have the courtesy to look up at the chiefs sitting above the opposition side of the House. That's your leader. If she don't have the courtesy to look at us when we bring the separatist talks before her, that means she's in favor of it. Period. Because she can't face the people that own the land. And we are the true owners of this land. There are nobody else here. If your color of your skin is different than ours, then you belong to the immigration of Canada, not us. We allow you to come here to share our resources for a better Canada, for a better Alberta. Where's our share? Why do we continue to live in third world country in a province of what you'd call a capital state? Why do we continue to live in that condition for? And yet you want to separate. You want to separate to the states. I guess when you separate all the people that want to separate, you might as well just say it this way. We're at war. United States is at war. I bet you any money the United States government will probably come and recruit you to show your alliance to the United States to go fight in the front lines. Do you ever think about that? If I think about it, what do you think he's thinking? Give your guys a shake in the head. You are not going nowhere. You're here to stay, and that's what it's going to be because we love the cold temperature. And if you can't put up with this weather here today, what makes you think you could put up with us?
Bravo. Bravo.
You know that?
Well said.
We're all here to stay. Get used to it.
Way to go, Chief. Chief Crowfoot.
Chief Sam Crowfoot.
Okay, Nistanagok Sipiu Mahka. Nadomodotu Siksika. Hello everybody, my name is Samuel Crowfoot. I'm the chief of Siksika Nation. And I want to start out by saying all these treaty rights, but we still aren't treated right. Our presence here today isn't about being anti-UCP or pro-NDP. Our presence here today is being about pro-treaty, about pro-coexistence, pro-rule of law, about honoring the historical covenants that allowed for the expansion of Alberta in its modern-day iteration today. The government has taken numerous actions besides separatism that have glossed over our rights. These are rights that are protected by the Constitution, the rights that the government of Alberta has a duty to protect, and they haven't. They need to consult with us on anything that has the ability to affect our rights, anything that affects legislation, anything that is the environment, anything that affects development. We need to be consulted with, and we haven't been. We've been ignored. We have been glossed over. And it only seems that when we have moments of adversarialness, moments where we have to be litigious, do we get the proper voice given to our, proper attention given to our voice. Before we were known for our peaceful treaties, and we have representatives from treaties 6, 7, and 8 here, but before that we were warriors. It has always been our charge and our stead to defend our people, to defend our rights, to fight for them when we need to. This attack on treaties via separation is just such a battle for us to stand loud and to stand proud and to say no more. We cannot have this anymore. Treaties benefit everybody here, and they're not taught about on purpose. They're not taught about in schools on purpose, and that is why we're here to remind people that these are the laws of the land. And just like human rights, they're protected by the Constitution. Thank you.
Chief Gary Lehman.
Chief Gary Lehman, Beaver Lake Cree Nation, Treaty 6 territory. I just want to acknowledge my Uncle Willie for coming out and braving the cold here. He's one of our warriors from way back, and I just want to acknowledge him. A lot has been said here. One of the things that I wanted to point out was the Minister for Indigenous Affairs did not even move. So that says a lot about this UCP government. This is a beautiful country. Treaty 6, 7, and 8 territory. It's all beautiful. And like was mentioned before, we all benefit from it. The spirit of treaty states that we are to share. And that's why we're here, is to say that we need to share. We need to share. And it's really sad that, you know, the First Nation chiefs have to come together to try and tell the government, let's be fair, you know, share with us. You know, and as was mentioned before, we are the first peoples here, the true title holders. So that when you have a government that is ignorant to the treaty history, and that back I'm gonna use Treaty 6 as an example. 1876, Governor Alexander Morse, he was the Lieutenant Governor for Manitoba. He started moving west, making treaty with First Nations. Okay, so these million-dollar farms, these multi-generational farms that have done, made farmers very rich. I'm just going to use that as one example. They have benefited from Treaty 6, from treaties, all our treaties. So I just want to point that out, that there needs to be more education on treaty, absolutely. And I want to thank the NDP caucus here, for all of our friends here, our allies. Every time we can get allies, it's a win. So thank you very much. Hi, hi.
I want to ask if anyone else wants to speak.
And was there anyone else amongst the chiefs and elders that have joined us today that wish to speak? Sir, please come forward.
In the words of Chief Bossman, if you don't like Alberta, you can leave.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take some comments now from Mr. Nenshi, followed. Oh,
Willie, do you want to? Okay.
no. All right, Mr. Nenshi.
Well, first of all, thank you to all of the Indigenous leaders here who the UCP thinks are unwilling pawns in a political stunt. That is, of course, not true in any way. The Chiefs did not come by this decision lightly. It's an important thing, and it's an honor for me to be standing here with all of them. And if I can give a special shout out to be standing here with Chief Wilton Littlechild for all your leadership. Thank you so much for being here. And to all of you for being here today. I want to be clear. The action that the Association of Treaty Chiefs took 11 days ago is unprecedented. We have never had a situation where all the chiefs stand up together despite whatever differences they have and say, we have no confidence in this premier and we have no confidence in this government. This has never happened before. And it tells us who this government is. And today they showed us who they are. There are so many things that I can say, and I should have started by saying that I'm not an Indigenous person. But I've been in public life for 15 years. And one of the first things I learned when I entered public life was the importance of respect and reciprocity. I'm proud to hold the name for my Tsuut'ina brothers and sisters, Etia, always ready. I'm proud to hold the name for my Blackfoot brothers and sisters, Abesto Chispista, and one day I'll learn to pronounce it. He who moves camp and the others follow. I'm proud to hold a war bonnet on behalf of the Treaty 7 elders from all 7 nations. And I'm proud to stand with Indigenous peoples today. If you think of nothing else, remember one thing. In Alberta today, a baby born to an Indigenous family will live 20 years less than a baby born to a non-Indigenous family. That's the Alberta we live in. That's the Alberta that this government has built. And instead of addressing that, instead of working on that, instead of helping Indigenous peoples become true partners in the prosperity of this place, they deflect, they deny, and they distract. This non-confidence motion is important for 3 reasons, and I want to highlight all 3 of them. The first is the economic reason. The Premier never stops talking about this MOU she signed. The very first line of that MOU talks about the importance of Indigenous peoples. How do you get a pipeline built when you have a non-confidence vote from every single chief in this province? This government is costing us jobs, it's costing us economic investment, and it's draining prosperity from Indigenous and non-Indigenous Albertans alike. The second is, this is where the chips fall on separatism. The Premier, in her entire time as Premier, has been playing political games. She's not been governing. She's been playing games for political benefit. And now the chips are falling. So we know that this discussion of separatism cannot happen if it violates treaty rights. And we've already had a judge say that the separatist question is unconstitutional. So what game is she playing? And what is her end game? But finally, and the most important reason this matters, is because we are all treaty people. Whether your family's been here since time immemorial, or you arrived like my family 50 years ago, or you arrived last week from a refugee camp, we are bound by the Constitution, and we are bound by those treaties. And for the government to suggest that Indigenous people don't matter, that they can be used as a political stunt, is a mistake they will regret. Because we must understand every day that we are bound by treaty. So 3 things happened today in the legislature that I want people to understand, and they are important. The first is that the UCP admitted that the entire separatist question is a charade. They said over and over again that they will not allow a referendum question to go forward that is unconstitutional. So all those poor volunteers gathering signatures in places like Yuma and Puerto Vallarta, perhaps they should listen to the Premier who says she's not going to put the question on the ballot no matter how many signatures you get, because it's unconstitutional. We've always known this, but it was amazing to hear them admit it today. The second thing that happened that was important today is to see how unbelievably unprepared this government was to talk about treaty issues. They mouthed pretty words. The Premier, a claimant to Indigenous ancestry herself, talked about how the Indigenous people love them. They talked about meaningless things and great meetings they'd had. The Minister of Indigenous Relations stood up and said, "Hey folks, you can meet with me anytime you want." Come on. Standing in the face of an unprecedented motion of non-confidence, that's all they had. So if I may quote my deputy leader, and this is going to be something shocking for everyone, cut the bullshit. Did I do that okay, Raki? Well done. I'm a bit horrified at myself. I never swear, it's a thing. But I am a bit fired up today. At the very, very least, this Minister of Indigenous Relations, under whose watch we got a motion of non-confidence, needs to be held to account. She and her government have lost the moral authority to be able to govern. But the worst thing that happened today, is the government House Leader stood up. I'll remind you that he is the MLA for where, Chief Crowfoot? Cardston Siksika. And he stood up and he treated these chiefs with such contempt that he said that they are just letting themselves be used as pawns in an NDP stunt. So first of all, I wish I could tell the chiefs what to do. The only ones who can tell the chiefs what to do are the women of the Indigenous nations. This I know. Just like Jody Calhoun Stonehouse tells me what to do at all times. But that contempt is indicative of the contempt with which this government treats Indigenous people, and frankly, the contempt with which they treat all Albertans. The entitlement is extraordinary. And the fact that they put their political games and their goal scoring over the needs of real people every single day. What Maya Angelou says, right? When someone tells you who they are, believe them. And today, the member for Cardston Siksika showed us exactly who this government is. And we believe them. We'll take questions.
All right, folks, we're going to take questions. If you've joined us on Zoom, all you have to do is raise your hand. If you're here in the crowd, just because we are doing a live stream and everything, please come to me. I have a microphone. I'm on the left side of the wall of cameras here. And looking around, Lisa Johnson from the Canadian Press is our first question.
Hi, thanks, Kirk. I'm wondering if any of the chiefs who were in the House this afternoon when the vote happened, when the non-confidence vote was turned down by the government, if you could describe what you were hoping to see today and what you saw happen, what you heard, and what you may have said from the gallery. We were outside at the time, so I'm just wondering if you can tell us what your experience was like in the House at that moment.
Well, no matter what they said, you know, they already had their minds. They're not going to support the motion. You know, it's just disheartening listening to some of the MLAs, you know, speak. You know, you got to show us with respect and dignity, and I didn't see that today. You know, MLAs are allowed to heckle in there, but you know, we're supposed to be good Indians there and not say anything. You know, and you know, we were very upset from the words they said. You know, my fellow brother, you know, he got accused of saying something that wasn't even him heckling. So he kind of got mad and left. So I got mad and left and said some words. So I didn't mean to be disrespectful, but you know, you see it every day in the House. It's just like they act like big kids argue, and it shouldn't be like that. You know, it should act professional. So merci.
I could answer a bit of that. I think we knew going into this that the vote wouldn't be passed, but we needed to be here to stand up for our people, our treaty people, and the Albertans. We are under no illusion about what the UCP government feels about our people right now. All we're trying to do right now is bring some knowledge to the non-Indigenous people and to our people at home that are watching all of this unfold, that we are doing something, that we will not stand for any of this talk of separation. We knew that the vote wouldn't pass. We knew what we were in for when we came to this legislature. We've seen it time and time again, the disrespect that the MLAs have for our people in those rooms, when they're yawning, texting, leaning back on their chairs, smiling, being very, it's very unprofessional. And in these rooms back here, you can bet your bottom dollar they're looking at us right now, laughing. How do I know that? Because I was in one of those rooms before when this whole area was full of people protesting. And what they were doing was pointing their finger out those windows, laughing at each and every one of these Albertans. It wasn't our people. So you have to give yourself, really give your head a shake. Understand what is going on here in Alberta. We can't keep doing all the dirty work for all the Albertans. We're doing a lot of dirty work for the federal government. And we are not in communications with a NDP. We are not in communications with the federal government on any of these initiatives. The motion that was passed at the AOTC was brought forward by one of our chiefs, Ellery Starlight. And it was unanimously passed by all of our chiefs at the table. Nobody knew that we were doing this. We are not in collaboration with anybody. We are our own people. We are our sovereign people. We understand what's going on, and we expect everybody else in Alberta to understand what's going on. That's why we're here today. Thank you.
Cindy Tran from the Edmonton Journal.
Oh, sorry. Hi, Chiefs. So my question is, let's say this citizen-led initiative on the separation question, they do gather the votes, and the Premier has said that whoever gathers the subsequent signatures, that question will be put on the fall referendum. Let's say that passes. Are you prepared to, I guess, follow through? What are your next steps if that question does come on the fall referendum?
Chief Sunshine, do you want to talk about the legal stuff?
Thank you for that question. As Naheed had mentioned, they said what's going to happen with that question. But you know, for Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation, we have the lawsuit against the question in the first place. You know, and it's one thing that we talked about as our people. We have to start being a little more assertive and protecting our way of life and our rights. And so whatever happens next, there's going to be another challenge, and that's what we've seen throughout the last few years with all of these legislations that they introduced and passed that are going to impact us. We're going to take exception to those, and every other nation is going to take acceptance to those. So I think it's up to the Albertans to really understand the gravity of what's happening here. You know, you got a government that's going against the majority. They're trying to make happy a small group of people. yet those financial impacts are going to be immense on the Albertans. You know, not because we want to have these legal challenges, they're expensive, but it's because we have to protect our way of life. We have to protect our rights. And you know, I'm not the only one. You see a lot of chiefs here. You know, all the chiefs all across the Alberta region, we're all in communication about how we're going to address all of these legislations that are going to impact us. So it's not just this one court case. There's multiple coming. And if they don't want to change their ways or their stances, it's going to have immense impact. You know, again, Naheed mentioned about the pipeline that they want to pass through our territories. Like, we're taking exception with a lot of the development in our territory because we haven't been consulted properly. And you know, that's what I told the chiefs in assembly last week. Those are the steps that we have to start taking. We got to start putting pressure, and that's going to halt business. And we don't want to halt business because we prosper as well when there's business in our territory. But it's to get people thinking. There's more impacts than just these legislation. Everybody's going to feel those impacts if we have to continue with this litigation on all of those legislations that impact us. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Sure. Will Vassar from, oh, sorry, one more.
One other answer for your question there is being treaty people, you have to ask the king what the king's going to do about this as well too, because he's the one that's the signatory and the main benefit of the treaties. Thank you.
Yeah, we got a lot of social issues. You know, the environment suffered. You know, we make up the minority of the population. You know, we agreed to share. You know, there's no need for our people to be sleeping in boxes and everything, you know. You know, we should be the Saudis of Canada. We should have everything the municipalities have, you know. It's hard, you know, when you have talks like this. There's no need for our people to suffer. There's billions of dollars to clean up their lands. You know, you can divert the waterways by a stroke of a pen. You know, we have a lot of statements of concerns, you know, about these MOUs with the province, these pathways. We still have unanswered questions, you know. So in true reconciliation, you know, I expect reconciliation, you know. Let's have a seat at the table. Quit having talks behind our backs. You know, let's have some meaningful conversation. Merci.
We're going to go to Will Vassar, Western Standard.
Hi, just a question for maybe one of the chiefs can answer this. I'm curious if you guys have had any interactions or conversations with leaders from the independence movement and be able to understand kind of what each side is talking about and what each side's kind of points are.
You're asking if anybody from the Separatists had come talk to us?
Yeah, if you guys have had any interactions from them.
Yeah, I remember in court the first time we went there, they said, we got a one-pager for all your issues. What does that mean? I guess that's what it means.
And I guess we did have some conversation with some of the MLAs that signed the separation. So yes, we did have conversation with them. It doesn't look good.
Who has signed?
Well, I know I'm from Cold Lake and Scott Sear. We had heated conversation about him, and he supports the separation movement. So, you know, I like to challenge him if anything. So if Scott Sear, you hear me, give me a call because I know you won't answer my call now. Let's see.
All right, our next question comes from Emmanuel Prince Tove from RCI.
Yeah, kind of in compliment to my colleague from the Western Standard. Have you had talks with the Forever Canadian petition? I know from a Francophone perspective, the Francophone group said, we're going to join their movement because our rights in Section 23 are infringed upon. You're saying that your rights in Section 35 are infringed upon. So are you thinking of joining their camp, financing their campaign, and an eventual referendum in the fall?
Thank you for that question. You know, that brings up an interesting conversation. We've had multiple conversations with various groups sharing their concerns. But as for Alliance, you know, we are sovereign nations, and we have our alliances with other sovereign nations. You know, and if those conversations align, then yeah, we'll have those conversations. But as for an alliance with any other group, then we're not aligned with anybody else. I know that they have their own thing, doing their own thing. There's multiple groups that we've talked to actually that are interested in supporting. You know, I've had multiple messages from people all across Alberta, all across Canada, really, offering support and thanking us for doing what we're doing. You know, this thing, like I said, it not only affects us, it affects every Canadian all across this land. Thank you.
And about petitions, you know, we have a lot of support out there, but, you know, who has $25,000 to do a petition? You know, that's just frocks, you know, like, who the heck has that? That's just a joke, you know, $25,000 to have a petition, you know, and then you can get charged if you don't do it right. That's just nonsense, honestly.
And one of the things that Albertans should know with the Prosperity Group, these guys are collecting money from you to help support their cause. You guys are sending money to the Prosperity Project for nothing. They're pocketing all the money in their pockets at your expense. So why do you continue to send money to them? Because you're being manipulated by the Prosperity Group. The only prosperity that they're getting is their pocket.
And that concludes our news conference for today, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. Please mind how you go.